All right. So yeah, so introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Laurel Galvin, and I own North Side Nursery School in Yarmouth, Mass. It's down on the Cape. I'm the director and the owner, and I've been there for about 25 years. I have a bachelor's degree in early childhood from Framingham, and I'm currently in my last year at Antioch University getting my master's degree in nature-based early childhood programs.
Wow. That's awesome. I didn't know that they had that one based specifically on nature-based programs.
They do, they really do. It's really great. I love it.
So tell people, what is a nature-based program?
So nature-based program really means that, you're taking your kids outside. Anything that you do inside can be taken outside. And they're kind of like 3 steps. And I got this from Rachel Lattimore's book, Preschool Beyond the Walls. And what she talks about, and what I feel is the same, is like our first step was, okay, we're going to bring the easel outside, and then we can bring things inside. And so we brought sticks inside so they could build with sticks. But with this whole COVID-19, we had to really rethink our whole program and how we were going to accommodate the kids. So we're outside from 8:30 to 4 o'clock, 3 days a week during the summer. And I don't know what the fall will look like, and we don't know what that will be.
Absolutely.
So what we have done is we have some sort of free play outside, as everybody does, snack outside, and stagger that snack so everybody has it. When parents come in, we did a virtual video of how kids are going to come into the school that's going to be new. They usually enter the school into the building. And so now they're not, and neither are their parents. They're going to enter through the playground, and usually there's a window, of course, to say goodbye at. And so we had to rethink about how they're going to say goodbye. So we have a big fence. It's about 5 feet, and we cut like what we call portholes. And the kids call them donut holes, but I don't care what they call them. But it's a chance for them to lean through that hole and say goodbye to their mom and dad.
Yeah.
Or watch them leave by their cars. That we also had to, since we have one bathroom with 2 toilets, we had to think about how can we accommodate that? So we have a hand washing station outside with what would normally be maybe a water cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And so the kids wash their hands. And I bought cloth towels. They were like hand towels, like this big, and I cut them in half. So I have 120 towels. Of course, they have to be washed every night.
Yeah.
But that's 120 paper towels that I don't have to buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. So a nature-based program means that you're outside regardless of the weather. And there's no such thing as bad weather. There's only poor choice of clothing.
That makes sense. So, when you're doing your program, I mean, being on the Cape, especially, I mean, you get the great weather during the summer, but then, when you're hitting that fall into the, winter, you're getting a lot of rain. How do you adapt to something like the rain or the snow that kind of kicks in?
Well, we've been a school that we're a yes. You can police kids and you can tell them, don't jump in the puddles, don't jump in the puddles.
Well, that's no fun.
Yeah, you can let them go.
Yeah.
So we have, the kids have rain boots and raincoats, but we found out that very quickly everybody's all wet.
Yeah.
So I invested in some LL Bean rain pants for the kids, and so they would put those on. that was okay.
Yeah.
Until the kids, I had two little girls with their jackets on and hoods up, decided they were going to shampoo each other with mud.
Oh boy.
So you're down to like one time they could go out with that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it got really like to the point where, okay, this is really not working. So I, Oki, it's spelled Oaki, and they make rain suits. And if you become a school partner, they have a discount. I wrote a letter to a former student who is a successful businessman and asked him if he was willing to give us some money to buy those suits. And so we did. And so now we have these wonderful suits. And then we got them right before March 20th. We closed.
Have you been able to try them yet?
We tried them, like we're open for 1 week before the 20th. And the kids did try them and they did love them and did wear them.
Okay, cool.
And
yeah.
They kept them dry, you know, and warm.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Plus, we have when parents outgrow their snow pants. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of snow this year. But when they outgrow their snow pants and they're, you know, it's the last child in their family, they tend to give it to us.
Yeah.
So we have a bin of snow pants and boots and things that we can lend to children who don't bring them every day.
Yeah.
Well,
that sounds like fun.
Well, you need snow pants when it's cold.
Yeah.
Snow pants when it's snowing.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I was thinking, you know, right before, you know, when you had sent me an email saying you wanted to be on this, you know, and we were talking about nature-based programs, I was like, oh, it's kind of the perfect time during COVID, of all places, to have nature-based programs, because they were saying that, you know, being outdoors, it's more likely that it won't spread as frequently and, you know, all that fun stuff. You know, when you're thinking about designing the curriculum piece of your programming for, you know, for COVID, you know, what are those additional pieces that you're not only just taking outside? I mean, I'm assuming, you know, you're taking outside the vast majority of your day, you know, your art and your science and your math and all that, but you know, what additional steps are you taking to make sure that the kids are safe and that your staff are safe as well during this time?
Well, all my staff and including myself wear a mask, and we wash our hands frequently, and all the equipment that they use, kids are using is washed frequently. I was fortunate enough to be able to buy a lot of the stuff that we needed, the sprays, the stuff, and at the end of the day, we have a big sprayer that we can spray everything down and then wipe it all down.
Awesome.
To keep kids safe and our staff safe. You know, yeah, we're bringing our curriculum outside, and then even those things that we bring outside, then those things that we use outside then must be sprayed and cleaned as well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I know you were telling me beforehand about your, you know, water station that you'd created for hand washing. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because it sounds like such a unique innovation that you created.
Well, we only have one bathroom with 2 toilets, and we have 2 sinks. But really, you only want 1 kid at a time in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So what we did was they have these, you know, it's meant for drinking water outside, and they're reusable plastic refillable containers. And so we use those as our hand washing station. So there's water there, and then it's just kind of like if you can imagine a plant stand. And then we have a plastic table with we have soap. It's a battery operated touchless sensor soap dispenser, and then we invested in 60 cloth washcloths or hand towels,
Hmm.
and I cut them in half. So we had 120 of them.
Yeah.
And then we put them in a trash can with a pedal on it so that it's, again, touchless, so the kids just throw it
Yeah.
into this trash can. And so our kids come in staggered, so they don't all come in at the same time. And they can quickly wash, and they've gotten used to the routine of washing their hands, holding the spigot. If they can't hold it, a teacher's right there. It's wiped down. We have wipes right there to wipe it down after each kid's use or teacher's use. So that was one of the things that we did that was really good. The other thing, because because snack is one of those things where you have to, for kids, you have to put it in, it has to be individually packaged.
Absolutely.
So what we did was we purchased those little paper bags. They're no bigger than, a snack bag that you might have gotten at Halloween if you're my age or older. And so we have one teacher that wears a glove, a mask,
Hmm.
and puts the snack in this little paper bag.
Hmm.
So the kids get that little paper bag, and there's a teacher there that has them 4 or 6 at a time. We have a table, and so that they're all separated. So
Yeah.
the kids each get a snack. They bring their own water bottle, which is reusable,
That makes it easier. Yeah.
because you can't have, we used to have them pour their snack, pour
Hmm.
their water, but can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's tough because all those self-help skills that we've been so much, we want to ingrain in those children. It's really tough during the age of COVID because we want to keep them safe as well. So a lot of those things that we would normally have them do, we're going to have them adjust, unfortunately. How are the kids holding up during COVID? I mean, you've only had them for a couple of days now, so I'm curious as to how they're holding up.
Well, they're so happy to see their friends. That's the first thing I can say, is they're happy to see their friends. They're happy to be at school. They've been really kind the first week. And then the second week, it's the honeymoon period is over. So there's been a little bit more, no, it's mine. That's to be expected. I was amazed how the kids were adapted to us wearing masks.
Mm.
Um, but I think they've been used to this, you know, um, and we have always had 2 circle groups,
Hmm.
and so it's been easy to keep the pods separate in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think on the whole, I could say they're happy to be back with their friends.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
No, I definitely can understand that, especially when they haven't seen him for what, 3, 4 months now, you
yeah,
know? And, I think for a while they were told, oh, you can't even go to a playground, right? I mean, especially at the beginning, they were told, okay, you can't go to the playground, you can't do that. And, when you're 3 or 4 years old, and you have all that energy inside of you, and then to be told, well, you don't have an outlet for it. That must be so tough on them, so any chance now that they have to be able to go outside and to be able to play must be thrilling for them.
well, that's the thing. My parents have always said, like, it's hard for the kids to understand that nothing is open,
Yeah.
and that was hard for them. That was really hard.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Um, do you have any advice for switching gears a little bit, but do you have any advice for anybody that is looking to start a nature-based program or to add more nature into their programs?
I think it would be easy to start with taking things outside. That's what we did.
Hmm.
Taking the things that that you have normally inside. And I also think that you don't need you don't need to go to the woods or the 100-acre woods to experience outside nature-based programs.
Hmm.
They don't need a lot of space. What they need is more the freedom to be able to move around that space, and they need to be able to have a sense of place. We forget that, we have all these plastic things, and if we move to more wooden things, they use their imagination.
Absolutely.
And just yesterday, I had two little girls, and we had 6 on the playground, and they made a square around some plants that were growing that shouldn't be growing there. If I was, weeding or something. We have those Norway maple trees that continue to grow everywhere. And they were making a fairy garden. So I think it's easy to bring things that you have inside outside.
Mm.
And then the next step for most people is to begin to think outside the box. Okay, what if it's bad weather, can we still go outside?
Hmm.
And how will I get parents on board?
Yeah.
How can I prepare for that?
Well, that's one thing that I tend to see pretty frequently at a childcare center is they'll see, bad weather, and then it's okay, we're inside, and it might not even be that bad of weather. It might just be a little bit of rain, like a very small amount. But I find that a lot of, teachers are trying to stay inside rather than go outside during those moments. And I feel like they miss so many of the opportunities to have, to be able to not only have kids be able to play outside and experience, the sensory inputs and all those other pieces, but also to have those conversations over weather and, other pieces that, you might be missing by not, actually going outside during those moments.
I think you have to get your staff on board too.
Mm.
Like, one of the wonderful things about the staff as I was going through this nature-based master's degree program, I was sharing all the things that I learned and encouraging them to what I was reading. I would share with them, or talk with them, or I would ask them for their advice. We also came up with a mission statement together, and so that helped. And I'm lucky because my staff were eager to jump on board. I did say if they could not afford the equipment to be outside, the rain pants, the gear, that would help them with it. And I would say, okay, I'll pay 50% of that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, the cool part about it is that you're bringing them on board, right? Rather than, having them either who are, whether they're already there and they're, don't want that change, or if they want to go, you're willing to help them and say, look, I understand this is going to be expensive in order to do something like this, but look at all this quality that's going to happen as a result of it. So, all the power to you for, getting the staff on board. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. I also think, access and affordability and equity are big I have families from different, from all economic backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
and cultural backgrounds. So you have to honor that, but you also have to find a way to support them. So the ability to loan them the equipment so that that child can be outside is really important.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you find that the parents, when they're either looking for care or decide on your program, when they hear stuff like that, or, that, that you're nature-based, but also that, you're willing to help them here and there as it kind of goes, in order to loan out that equipment or whatnot. Do you find that it brings more families into your program as a result?
I think so. Before COVID happened, we we serve 32 children. We have 22 children on a daily basis. Out of those 22 children, I would have 18 children stay. That's my max.
Okay.
Sleep every day to stay the full day. And I always had a child that if somebody's out, let me know so so he can stay. And then we put out the summer program, and in 24 hours, I was full with 22 kids and a wait list of 4.
Wow. Congratulations on that.
Yeah. So I think once you're out there, it's easy. I think and plus I've been here 25 years, so that makes a big difference. But even if you're just starting, as long as you're willing to I have families that, I have to educate, like, hey, he needs, he needs boots, or he needs this, or she needs this. We took the kids one day, we walk once a month down to some trails, and it was snowing, unpredictable, and all the kids had rain boots on, and their feet were cold, and we had lots of extra mittens. So I took their cotton socks off and put these mittens that we had on their feet to keep them warm. When I got back, I said, okay, I'm done with this. So I put up a little note and said, please donate 1 pair of wool socks. Here's a list of where you can get them. So I got plenty of socks.
Wow.
So and I didn't put it so that it was like mandatory.
Yeah.
If you can do this. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like parents are always wanting to help out anyways, or the vast majority of parents.
I think so.
In my 20 years in early education, I've always, I've had more parents than I can count that are willing to, get recyclable materials, or extra clothes, all that kind of stuff. It was always an easy kind of flow for a lot of that kind of stuff. So I always like the fact that, I think the parents get it. It takes them a little while, because it's a new environment for them as well. They're not used to kind of coming in to childcare because it's a different environment altogether.
Particularly for those first-time parents. Once you get them in and you educate them, most of the time they stay. But I've had parents that were preschoolers and came back. And just the other day, I had a preschooler bring his child in, and I go, oh gosh. Maybe I'm getting really old.
I was just doing the math the other day because I'm hitting my 20 years in February. And I was like, okay, the first group of kids I had were 2-year-olds. So now they're going to be, 22 or something along those lines. I'm like, wait a minute, this is not okay.
Yeah. It's funny when they come back. I mean, I also have one teacher who was I had as a preschooler too. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that speaks to your program too, to have a generational type school, which you see sometimes, but you don't see it as frequently as it used to be.
It's interesting you say that, because I always have thought that was what most preschools were like. Particularly if they lasted or stayed in business for a long time, you would find them.
Yeah.
I mean, North Side was established in 1970. It's one of the oldest schools in the Denison, Yarmouth area.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you know what it is that, and I might be skewed a little bit because, a lot of my experience is, downtown Boston or, like a lot of, heavy urban areas when it comes to early ed. And a lot of it's, become very corporate lately.
Oh, yeah.
Between the Bright Horizonses and the Kinder Cares and all the other kind of centers that are now branching off, instead of having one smaller type of preschool, now they have 25 or they have 5 or 6 or 7. It's kind of become big business, and as a result of that, it seems like people are looking, whether it's close to home or close to work. So they're looking for that convenience factor. you know, instead. But I'm noticing that more of the suburban, you know, or the rural areas, that's where you start to see that generational piece. That's where people are like, you know what, I'm going to stick with this place because it's been open for 25, 30 years and I trust these people. Yeah.
I think that's true, but I also, you bring up a good point about the urban, because, you know, we think of forest schools or nature-based programs being in suburbia or rural areas, but they can survive in urban areas by using what they have nearby, you
Yeah.
know, whether it might be a park. You know, it doesn't take much. If your playground is all pavement, which may not be the case, but whatever it is, you can bring in nature.
Mm.
There's nothing about like bringing in loose parts or bringing in wooden cones or pine cones, or those kinds of things can be easily brought in to the children.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
you know,
I've noticed too that a lot of the toys that you can get, so Discount School Supply, Lakeshore, all those, are starting to head in some of that direction as well towards the nature base. Not completely, but I'm noticing, you know, if I want to get pieces of, you know, a tree, you know, as you know, the circular pieces of a tree, though, you know, you can get those now. You know, they're more they've become more commercialized, which is, you know, but which is good for programs that may not necessarily have it readily available right next door. So if you're in New York City and you have one of those rooftop childcare centers, you might not necessarily be able to get pine cones, but you can order them online very easily now. And I love the fact that with the internet, we can kind of get those materials, whether it's through eBay, you know, people just wanting to get rid of, you know, sticks. You know, I've seen it happen all the time where they've done it for dog parks, you know, and they donate sticks to dog parks and, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. You know, so I think it's nice that, you know, we have that ability now to be able to get those materials where we didn't have that ability, say, 20 years ago.
yeah. I just saw Rusty Keeler, who's a big nature-based playground, and he is now selling his products through Kaplan Company. It's Kaplan Learning, something like that. And it looked I can't buy any more equipment, but it looked really, really good. Well made. You know, and the same thing with Discount School Supplies. Some of their outdoor equipment, their mud kitchen equipment. We've had originally when we built the mud kitchen, I used I went to have it the restore and got you know, cabinets and just painted them and made a sink and made a stove and put a
Yep.
table out there. And then Discount School Supplies came out with a sink and a stove, and which has lasted really well. It's
Yeah.
good quality, you know, furniture that's going to last.
Well, and
You know,
that's the key piece, especially when you're buying early ed materials anyways, is what, you know, how long will it last?
yeah,
Because, you know, I love kids to death, but oh boy, we go through materials like there's no tomorrow. You know, whether that's a marker or, you know, a bookshelf, because kids are kids and they got to learn, you know, that books are for reading, not for standing on, and, you know, all that kind of additional pieces. But I'm always glad when you're getting materials like that from, you know, a discount. I know Lakeshore does a really great, you know, their furniture is really great. It's expensive. Uh,
I
you know,
agree.
it'd be nice if they'd go down on the cost a little bit, but other than that, I'm glad that it's well made at least.
I think that the thing that I really like is that nature-based, some of the nature-based equipment is coming to Discount School Supplies and Kaplan. I
Mm,
don't see it coming to Lakeshore.
yeah.
I see a lot of plastic.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, they have good quality curriculum and good resources and things like that,
Yeah.
but I've been very impressed. And even anything that we have bought so far at Discount School Supplies, as well as outdoor equipment, they've been very good. When we bought the water table with the flow, it arrived with a bump in it, and I called them and they were able to send us a new one. So,
Oh yeah, they're incredible with that kind of stuff. You know, I've
yeah,
worked with them for years, and anytime there's a problem or if something is missing, you know, a piece is missing, they're, you know, the first ones to get it out there, um, which is always great. You know, and what I like about Discount is that the variety of materials now. You know, it's so much bigger than it used to be. You know, now that we can get mud kitchens, you know, now we can get water tables that have all of these things that, you know, we really weren't doing, you know, 25 years ago. It's like you're right on that cusp of right before the internet, like between the internet starting up, where,
yeah.
you know, you might hear about it at a conference here and there about somebody doing something innovative with like PVC pipe or, you know, all these other things, but it was always kind of, you know, man-made materials, right? We were always creating those materials because we didn't have them readily available. And now, you know, people have gotten so creative with some of these materials, and now, you know, they're able to sell them, which is great.
The other good places, I think it's Kadu Kids, and they do ramps. They started with ramps, and they have lots of sensory materials and things that are great for outside. And
Well, that's always exciting.
yeah, we've had the ramps outside today. They had the ramps outside and made a big pond, and they were running boats in water using the PVC ramps in our dirt pile.
That's fun.
Yeah, it
Now,
was fun.
I'm curious, when you're looking at materials for outside play, are you looking at durability? Are you looking at something that's going to last? Because it has to last through the rain and the snow and, you know, other things. I'm curious as to your thoughts on finding the right materials for that.
I really look for durability. We used to buy, the plastic buckets.
Yeah,
And so I really got tired of replacing them every year for a buck, or whatever
yeah.
it was. So I invested in some metal ones, and they have lasted forever. And
Wow.
so, like I mean, they're expensive,
Yeah,
but if they last 5 or 10 years,
yeah.
that's $10 or $9 I didn't have to spend,
Oh, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Over time, you're going to save so much more money that way.
yeah, and so even the same thing with rakes, wheelbarrows,
Hmm.
I look at things that could stay over time.
Hmm.
Um, the John Deere wheelbarrows last a little bit longer than the radio flyer ones.
Yep.
The plastic ones, they fade with the sun.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Um,
curious with the plastic too, because, you know, we are in early childhood. So for health and safety reasons, you know, we try to maintain, you know, we don't want to, you know, have something full blown metal not all the time, but sometimes it's absolutely a great idea. But I'm curious as to how do you balance the health and safety component of that with the materials? You know, because you want to make sure the kids aren't going to injure themselves too much, because kids are going to get hurt. There's just no way around that. But we want to maintain as much of the health and safety as possible.
so I think we could go with wheelbarrows and dump trucks. So we have like 5 of those big yellow Tonka metal trucks.
Yep.
So after, they've used them, we tend to just spray them down.
Hmm.
And the same thing with the wheelbarrows, because the wheelbarrows are metal, but the handles are all wood. So it
Ah,
doesn't, you know,
yeah,
the virus doesn't stay as long on the
yeah.
wood.
Well, I'm not even thinking just from the virus standpoint, but I'm thinking, just material wise, right? A lot of childcare centers, when they go towards plastic materials, because they're deemed quote unquote safer than say wood or metal, but I'm curious to your thoughts about that, because you're going with the durability piece, but I'm also wondering, do is there, have you taught the kids that like responsibility piece with like a metal Tonka truck that probably shouldn't be thrown because it's going to hurt somebody, right? Or those, maybe it's more of a metal rake, than the plastic rakes. I'm curious as to your thoughts on those.
Well, I think if you're monitoring the children, so even in the days when we had 22, we still had 4 teachers. So you're really monitoring them and how to use that. Plus, if you're using a rake, like our playground would have millions of leaves. So
Yeah.
we would be out there raking with them and
Yep.
teaching them how to use the rake. Like, no, you don't put the rake up over your head and hit your friend,
Yeah.
And yes, rake up the leaves, and then you can use the wheelbarrow, and they love using the wheelbarrow, and the combination of the wheelbarrow, the rakes, and bringing up a plastic, trash can barrel, and they fill up the barrel.
Yeah.
Um,
They love it
our,
now. Wait until they're in their, 20s, 30s, and 40s. They're not going to love it so much.
I used to have we have the metal snow shovels, and I used
Mhm.
to have this little boy. He's now, I think he just graduated from college, but he would love to shovel the snow, and he would shovel the whole walkway for me.
Wow.
So yeah, and so he would know, like, obviously he loved doing it, and it's
Yeah.
a process that, of course we would be out there with our own metal one,
Yeah.
showing him
You know what
the
I
way
think?
to do it.
I think that's the difference, is that it's the monitoring and doing it with them, right? I've seen this happen more times than I can count, where teachers will kind of step back from a situation rather than participate in it. Um, and I find that sometimes that doesn't always help children, where if we're right there with them and we're doing it with them, they're going to be learning those steps along the way as well, because we're showing them the responsible way of going about using those materials.
You're right, because it doesn't matter whether it's a metal bucket, and
Yeah.
and how they are with the shovel. They'll take the shovel of sand and it'll be flying, and
Yeah.
I'll mention to them, like, okay, come on, let's dig, and let's put the sand in the bucket, and then,
Yeah.
or let's put the sand in the dump truck, and then where do you want to take it, and not on the mulch.
You'll never get your sand back.
Yeah, sure.
More times than I can count, I'm like, oh God, I've had to fill sandboxes, and just have the bags and bags and bags. And then I think I remember one day I was like, I'm just hiring a company to just dump it right in there, because it was driving me nuts. Because, the kids, they weren't being taught how to keep it in the sandbox. It's not something they're going to
Right.
inherently know. They have to learn that stuff.
Yeah, our playground at one time was grass, and then grass was not suitable, and then sand was okay. So then we got rid of the sandbox, because every place was a sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we had to put mulch underneath the swings, mulch, or that shredded rubber, which I don't know.
What, like the tire rubber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that could, who knows whether that would be cancerous in 20 years or 10 years, whatever.
Yeah, I worked in a childcare center that we were in the Department of Transportation building in Boston, and we had all of that on our playground, and they ended up doing a study on it for us, because we all said the same thing, and a lot of the parents felt the same way. So they ended up doing a study for us on that. They found that it wasn't, but it was, but they were also said it wouldn't be something that would be recommended being ingested, which was something that they were nervous about. And I said, well, I understand that some kids might end up swallowing, once in a blue moon swallowing it. But I said, it's not something that I would normally see, in a normal situation if we're watching them. But we ended up having to change it over, because they just felt that was where that was more of where they were nervous about, rather than the other side of it. So
I just think I think that they need that unevenness of sand and mulch. And, why put out something that's solid, even? Then they don't get that sensory input,
yeah,
through the bumpy surfaces.
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
That they need, those plastic sensory, and I'm sure you've seen them, they're they're curve shaped, and they have bumps on them.
Oh, yeah.
It's like recreating the wheel. Why not just let them out there, obviously in shoes, but getting them on uneven surfaces?
Well, balance is a big thing they have to learn. They have to learn how to balance themselves. That is a hard thing to be able to do. And try running while, on an uneven surface. That's even harder. You know, they've got to learn all of that stuff. And they're not going to learn it, you know, on, you know, pavement or, you know, a solid grass, you know, type surface. They're going to need all of that.
Yeah, and they're not going to learn it on something that's also, you know, those rubberized mats.
Yeah.
You know, we can't. There's a certain risk that they need to take,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're talking about climbing up to the top of a small ladder or one of those dome climbers that has like 2 or 3 rows on it. You know,
Yeah.
they have to have the confidence to be able to do that, and we have to trust that that the children know their own abilities.
I'm
And if they
curious to your thoughts with that, actually, because, you know, it seems like there's been a generational move towards that helicopter parent, the one that's always standing right there, you know, in case they fall, and, you know, which we didn't really have prior. I mean, I don't remember it in my generation, as at least not as frequently.
Mhm.
You know, so I'm curious as to your thoughts about how to move parents kind of away from that helicopter parenting and say, look, let them try it. Let's see what they can do. You know, they do have abilities. They're not always going to succeed. They are going to fail. They are going to get hurt. You know.
I think you check in with them and how are you feeling?
Hmm.
You know, how's your body feeling?
Yeah.
Are you, not are you okay, but let's check in and see how you feel about what you're doing now.
Hmm.
Do you think can you reach that bar by yourself? You know, great. I'm glad you did that. And I've seen before kids that will, I'll say to them, you want to go higher? No, I'm okay right here. No how, hold on to dear life. Or they'll get up to a certain point and they go, I don't know how to get down. Take
Hmm.
me down. And I'll say to them, I won't take you down, but I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
Hold on tight. Let me slide you off that bar. Put your feet down. Now you got it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
And then they, you know, and then watch 2 or 3 times later, they're going to be able to do it on their own.
And they practice. I mean,
Yeah.
and we have a tiny rock wall that can't be in, it's plastic, can't be any higher than maybe 4 feet at the most.
Okay.
And when young kids come, like, I can't do this. Oh, yes, you can. Let me show you how to do that. Try putting your hand here, put your foot there, and I'll be there holding their butt or
Yep.
holding their back so that they can make it. So um, you have to trust your kid that they can do it to a
Yeah.
certain extent. I'm not saying that, you know, he should jump off, 5 foot cliff or something.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. There's, you know, there's a limit to anything, obviously. You know, but yeah, they can, you know, more often than not, I've had to tell parents, no, they can actually do this. I've seen them do it on their own. You know, it's new to the parents because they've never seen their child be able to do that because they've always been right there.
I mean, even we've taken the kids, every year we've taken our older kids ice skating
Hmm.
once. And we have parents that come with us.
Yep.
Kids have to wear helmets. We hire an instructor. And it's amazing how some kids, they're so scared of falling. And then by the end of the lesson, by the end of the hour, they're skating around by themselves. And it's really amazing to watch,
Yeah.
because they feel really good. I mean, I've myself and another teacher were out there. I wear a helmet just because there's no way I want to fall on my head. And plus, I think it's a good model. Um, and we have parents and instructors, and the kids love it.
Yeah.
So it's about, again, opening up experiences for them, but at the same time encouraging them to explore new things. And one kid 1 year wouldn't do it, but eventually his father encouraged him, and he was out there skating.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
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 Now it's one of those things that I tell people, you know, we facilitate opportunities. That's really what we do as early educators, right? It's, we're there, we give them the opportunity to do these type of things and to say, look, let's learn, let's try it. You might not succeed the first time, but you're going to succeed eventually.
One year, we had instructor teaching. We had lots of snow that year, and I remember this little boy couldn't have been any more than 3. And we had snowshoes, and what he wanted for Christmas was, after the experience of going snowshoeing, he wanted snowshoes. and they learned. I mean, they stepped on them and they fell over, but like, it's just you pick them up, and some were cold and they were like, oh, I'm done with this, and others were like, I want to do it again, I want to do it again.
Yep.
And again, giving them those opportunities, as you were saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I don't want to waste all your evening, but I wanted to thank you so much for doing this for me. We're going to be putting this up online, in the next couple of days and going forward from there.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about nature-based programs. And, if anyone's interested, they should take a look at Antioch University in Keene, New Hampshire. And you can do it online, and it's a great introduction to that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I didn't even know that existed, to be honest. So that sounds incredible.
Yeah, and I think it's not just preschool. I think we can think about public school, doing more things outside. Why can't they have gym outside? Yeah. Why can't they have music outside?
Yeah.
Why can't they? And then they'll say, okay, what about weather? Well, get a tent.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Beyond.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan.